Shalom Chavrim, I'm Stephen Ben-Nun. You are watching Israeli News Live, and we are certainly headed into a situation that was described not too long ago, back in June, where President Trump is warning that it is a possibility that Russia could attack with planes, ships, everything you could possibly imagine. Let me get real quick there. I realize something's playing somewhere. Don't know exactly what's going on here, so let me just pardon. Okay, I see it's still running on that side there. I apologize for that. At any rate, though, what we are seeing that is happening right now is that there is a whirlwind.
Transparency in this process.
Whirlwind of media that is coming out in RT and other media as well, that Russia is expecting something to happen with NATO. Russia is aware of U.S. and Western military plans, according to the Russian foreign minister. And those plans that the foreign minister was speaking about is an imminent attack of dividing the nation of Russia. This actually something he had spoke about. Says Moscow knows what military actions Washington and its Western allies might be plotting against it, but the country is well protected, Russian Foreign Ministry Sergei Lavrov said. Our awareness of what plans the U.S. and other Western country militaries are nursing in relation to the Russian Federation is guaranteed, Lavrov told the participant in the Russian Youth Educational Forum territory of meetings held some 200 kilometers from Moscow and the Vladimir region. The U.S. has been actively deploying its air defense systems around the globe, including on the Russian doorsteps in the Baltic states and Japan, but the top diplomat said countries shouldn't worry no matter what happens in the world as its security is ensured. He was citing Russian President Vladimir Putin's new developments in the Russian armory. Tokyo to spend some $4.2 billion over the next 30 years to install and operate the U.S. radar systems on the new ground bases and Aegis shore missile defense system is happening there. Now, here's what's interesting, though. You know, yesterday we did our live broadcast here as we're doing today. U.S. sends message to Russia, you are surrounded. And then within 24 hours, 3 articles come out on RT, every one of them dealing with that exact subject. So it's kind of odd that we would actually report that yesterday, and then this morning, less than 24 hours later, here on July 30th, we are getting all kinds of reports coming out of Russia to that exact very scenario. This one here, probably the most convincing of all. Entitled Call to Break Up Russia by Latvian MP, Proof NATO's Hostile Plans, a senior lawmaker. The article here speaks about how that Russia is fearing that NATO wants to break up the country into 4 regions, 4 separate countries. Says here the head of the Russian lower house committee for Eurasian integration says the recent proposal to split Russia into several parts voiced by Latvian MP is proof of NATO's hostile plans. The MP, Leonid Kalashnikov, who's part of the Communist Party, told RIA Novosti on Monday that the statement by the Latvian MP Alexandrs Kirstens clearly demonstrated that Russian concern over NATO bases in the Baltic countries was justified. The comments came shortly after Kirstens wrote on his Twitter feed that the end of the military conflicts and the guarantee of peaceful life in Europe was possible only if Russia is divided into several small countries. We should not be shy. We should offer tough resistance. Resistant not even such statements, but rather the danger of our country being split up that arises after them, said Kalashnikov. The Russian lawmaker also noted that the call to split up Russia clearly contradicted earlier assurances from the Western nations that they have no intention of capturing Russian territory and breaking it up into parts. He went on to say that it is important for Russia to counter NATO's aggressive plans and not simply trust assurances from aggressive nations. Well, this has been talk that has come up before about Russia, breaking it up. trying to do this. In fact, during World War II, I think it was General Patton wanted to continue the war and to take Russia down as well. I'm sure the Vatican would love to break up Russia into multiple countries there to where they could better control the populace around the nation. Well, it doesn't end there either. We also have, too, the article here, is Trump planning to strike Iran next month? Here's what you need to know. Any kind of wars like this could very much involve Russia, because after all, Iran is an ally of Russia. But will Russia come to Iran's defense? I don't think they will, personally. But Syria is another case altogether. And it wouldn't take a whole lot to cause something to spark a war with Russia. It would be absolutely absurd to think that Russia was about to strike NATO countries. That's my opinion anyway, even though this article here on Newsweek back on June 5th said that President Trump actually says that, tells NATO prepare for Russian attack with planes, ships, and troops. Russia doesn't have the manpower nor the Navy to be able to launch such a mass-scale operation. Nuclear war, yes. Russia has every bit of the capabilities to launch a nuclear war. A war in Europe, yes. They have the capabilities to launch a war in Europe if necessary. But to do such a global front, a global battle, that would cause them to need to have resources on both eastern and western shores, as well as battling multiple countries and even the United States, one of the biggest superpowers in the world, I just don't see it happening. But Prince Philip always talked about the depopulation agenda, said too many people are on the earth. Maybe they're trying to get Russia to get into a nuclear war. Maybe President Putin is part of the plan to lower the population. Depopulation agenda 101, perhaps. I don't know. You know, it is a bit concerning, to say the least, to see these things coming together. And you know, let me just share something with you. Let me pull up over here on Twitter right now. I'm going to pull up Crimea and then air. Maybe that'll pull this up here. There is always the Crimea Peninsula is always being monitored from the air. I was looking at one this morning where the U.S. Air Force is constantly circling back and forth over there, their AWACS, etc., in that vicinity there. And it is always following up from Sochi and then in and around Crimea. We also see it around Kaliningrad as well. I didn't know if we had anything showing up on here. Let me just see if we can pick up a particular... I was looking at this morning, but I haven't gone back to see this since then. Wow, never noticed that before on the West Bank. They do a lot of surveillance on the West Bank as well. Interesting. But anyway, there is a lot of activity that's been happening around Crimea. And so we've been watching that ourselves. We do follow a couple of these groups here, and just to see what's happening, what's going on at the time. I don't see anything right off now that I could quickly jump in there and share with you, so we'll kind of skip that for now. Moving on in other news as well, we're jumping over towards Syria there. Breaking last main ISIS stronghold in the southwest Syria does fall. This morning when we were getting ready to put our news together, they had the Syrian Tiger forces had launched their attack against the ISIS stronghold there, and it has fallen since that beginning of that strike there. The territories controlled by ISIS in the southwest Syria are steadily shrinking, with a great group lost its last key bastion in Yarmouk Basin region. That's closer to the Israeli border there, south of Dada is where that area is there that they're speaking about. But there's also been some pretty bad things happening with ISIS. ISIS made a fast-moving track down towards Al-Suwaid, and in the process, they were killing people. The biggest hit was directed to Russia and Damascus, who are inviting all the refugees to return from neighboring countries, as a decision maker in the Syrian capital said. On Wednesday at 5 a.m. local time, ISIS militants on board of an estimated 35 to 40 vehicles crossed al-Badaya,